Hi everybody, welcome back to tnoozLIVE at the Aviation Festival. I'm Martin Cowan, I'm Editorial Director of tNews, and tnoozLIVE at the Aviation Festival is presented by JetBlue Technology Ventures and sponsored by Travelair. Next up, I've got Markus Binkert, who's the Senior Vice President of Revenue Management and Distribution for Lufthansa Group. Now, both of those, revenue management and distribution, we can talk about for some time. Let's just maybe start with the distribution and just, Lufthansa is widely seen as being one of the sort of the leading lights in changing the whole distribution landscape. So just outline your distribution strategy, if you could.
Absolutely, with pleasure. So driving innovation in distribution is absolutely key for us at Lufthansa. And why is that? A couple of years back, we realized being a network carrier in Europe, you're kind of squeezed by upcoming low-cost competition, Middle East carrier, having a huge impact on a yield, a yield decline. And while doing significant investments in the product, sometimes difficult to display this in the right shelf and display this towards the customers. So hence the distribution bit of it. If you take, for example, premium economy class, if you just say premium economy, what's in it or not, because that might differ from airline A to airline B. So we embarked on the journey of really doing a long-term, ambitious, and also a bit disruptive distribution strategy as the trade has seen a couple of years ago, building up capabilities in revenue management by joining the team, but also in the distribution. By now we have a team of over 50 people just really dealing with NDC, dealing with what the trade needs and the different partners.
Okay.
So distribution, what are kind of the big things now and where our strategy kicks in is that, of course, we all see customers, be that B2B or B2C, they have more individual needs. It's no longer one size fits all, so you cannot really cater for it with economy, business and first class. And hence we needed to be a bit more modular. The first step we took was introducing fare bundles, the economy light, classic and flex, which was good. It was a first move to be a bit more specific what the customers needed, and it added additional pricing points. Next to the RBDs of the alphabet, the 26, we could double that. But what was a bit frustrating is what was the time it needed to implement. By the time we had those fare bundles really in every shelf in the old traditional distribution ecosystem, it took us nearly 3 years. So that time to market was just, if you think what's coming up next, not acceptable. And of course, on top of that, there's new bundles, new product features coming out. The actual hardware in the cabin becomes much more differentiated. So you need revenue management, particularly distribution capabilities, in order to display that. We just announced these days and this morning we're going to introduce continuous pricing. That needs the capabilities. So you have a complexity from the customer side, and you have a complexity from the offer side, and you need to make sure in the distribution you find a system that matches both those needs and that they talk to each other. And while it's easy to do that on your own .coms, for us very important that we can bring those benefits of the new world to all our customers, even if they through whichever channel they book. So hence we took a leading role together with IATA in driving NDC in order to enable to connect that link.
Okay, so you mentioned continuous pricing there. That's a phrase I've sort of heard in various forms over the past couple of days. But what do you mean by continuous pricing, and what was the announcement that I missed because I was sat here?
So continuous pricing basically means that we are able to offer the optimal price points at any moment in time. So we can go away from the RBDs. Take an example of a business class trip Frankfurt to London. And you're left with 5 RBDs with 5 booking classes. RBD is a booking class that you have in the GDS. So you have basically 5 price points on such an itinerary, and the jump from one to the next can be as high as 100 euros or higher. So you're not optimally there with the price. Continuous pricing allows us to add additional price points, basically endless price points if we want. And that was known also from low-cost carriers that did that, but for a network carrier, we're the first ones ahead, and that took us huge investments and several years to get there. And that's what is now already live in pilots, and that's going to be rolled out in a larger scale in the first half of 2019. So that's going to be a significant game changer, I would say, in the industry.
And is that applicable to your direct channels?
That will be applicable to either our .coms or to NDC-enabled indirect channels. That's why I think now there's so much happening in that space, because that will be a big advantage for customers to have those additional price points, but it'll also be big advantages for those partners that are part of our NDC partner program, which we launched earlier this year. And that entails several technical and commercial components in order to enable that kickstart, that shift into the new world.
Okay, tell me about this NDC partner
program. Yeah.
NDC partner program.
So we have been in that arena for quite some time now when it comes to NDC, but you have to go step by step. So you first introduced technical alternatives to show it, then we introduced some smart offers, special contents that we delivered through, but only with the introduction of the NDC partner program, we have really kind of a consistent program that we can bring to the trade, to the partners, to say, okay, if you sign up for that, you get support in servicing, you get there's a technology component to it, there's a strategic component to it, and there's a content component to it. And I think that is very attractive, and we see that since the announcement, we really have a huge take-on rate. We now have several thousand partners already as being part of that NDC partner program.
And these NDC partners, they're distributing your inventory?
Exactly, through a Lufthansa Group NDC API.
Okay, so the partners basically sign up to the API, but it's more than just signing up to the API, it's part of a sort of network consultancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think the change from, let's call it the old ecosystem in distribution to the new one is not just putting a switch, it has several components, as I said, and that's how we somewhat composed the NDC partner program. So very important to have a technical part of it, so we can talk with the partners what is needed to arrange for the best technical interface. There is a content component, in the new world. If let's take a corporate, we'll be able to kind of design specific bundles just for one corporate, because there might be an industry company that says extra baggage is extremely important for our employees to travel, or another corporation might think lounge access is more important to me. So we can actually tailor-made bundles and then distribute them through those channels. And
that's interesting. So that whole, I was at the GBTA convention recently, and one of the conversations that I kept picking up was this whole idea about the preferred supplier is almost an incongruous term these days, and what corporates want is the supplier that can deliver exactly what that specific corporate wants. So as you said, if a lot of my travellers are carrying big bundles of stuff, then we need more lounge space as part of that deal. And you're saying that NDC is facilitating and enabling that.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that was the limiting factor of the old world, when this notion of one size fits all, which doesn't hold true anymore, also limits innovation, because if you have to have everything in every shelf, that's the 3 years it took us when we introduced the fare bundles. And nowadays there will be different content in different channels, always according to what those customers in that segment need. And we want to be there at the right time with the right product, in the right shelf, in the right display. But you cannot do this each time for everyone. You don't need a first-class product in a student travel base, for example. That is not.
Okay, so I mean, just thinking about in terms of how Lufthansa Group generally works with intermediaries and third parties. I mean, you're not aiming for everything direct, but you're looking at a more structured relationship with the intermediaries. Is that accurate? Or?
Absolutely. I think when we come back to how does the customer find the offering, at the end of the day, the customer will decide which shelf or which purchase point is right for him. And we want to ensure we are there in the best display wherever he needs us. And for that, we work with many tech partners. We have more than 40 technology partners in the NDC environment. in whichever form of aggregation and that is needed. So that is the intention that we're having. We don't want to direct, we cannot direct whether our customers purchase or get informed or book their air tickets. They look for their ways, and those ways, by the way, will change in future drastically, I'm sure. And we just want to make sure we are technologically and ready to be there where the customer is.
Okay, so you talk about being sort of technologically ready. I mean, one of the arguments around NDC is that the technology is settling, and the commercial models are where the real conversations are now happening around NDC. So I mean, are you looking at different commercial models in terms of your relationships with partners directly as a result of what NDC can offer?
Of course, it goes hand in hand. Yeah, I think technology is one side, and the commercial is the other part of the equation. Initially, the focus was more on technology because we had to make sure it works. There are viable alternatives, and of course, that we drive very heavy together with IATA, because it's in our interest to have certain industry standards when it comes to technology. But now in this new field of distribution, where we'll not see 3-4 players like in the past, we'll expect many players from different angles entering that scene. It's also important to understand what are the commercial models around that. Okay. That's where we are in discussion, and they're very much value-based. So we need to see what is the value of each player in the middle ground, and who is the value for? Yeah, if a GDS provides value to the travel agency, then that's great. Yeah. But then they have to also, that has to be reflected in the commercial model and in other occasions.
Okay, I know when you introduced the distribution strategy earlier, you said that it was a sort of long-term decision. So I'm just thinking in terms of the next 3 to 5 years, how this is going to evolve. So you've set off on the road to shaking up the distribution, almost like disrupting distribution. I mean, what's likely to happen in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it just going to be a continued, implementation of the evolution that's begun, or is there anything lurking around the corner that you think might change that direction? Yeah,
I think we have to go back. That's a couple of years. So that's why it's a long-term strategy, because you had the whole topic with getting distributive freedom in the introduction of the DCC back then. In order to have the technology ready with partners, but also internally, continuous pricing. That's a 3 to 4 year process in order to have that ready. That all needs to fall in place. So now we are in
continuous. That's 3 to 4 years to get it to where we are now, or 3 to 4 years to get it to where it.
For continuous pricing, okay. That started at Lufthansa Group 3 to 4 years ago. Okay. We are now live with pilots, and scale it out next year. And I think that's where the industry will go, but every airline needs to go through that process. In terms of what's coming next, I think we're now really in the midst of the exciting time, because NDC is now, I guess, really fully accepted by all players in the industry, and now we're ready to rock and roll, so to speak. So the next thing will be, it will gain scale. It'll be a topic around content. It'll be a topic about reach, and at the content, we're still, the examples we just made is some bundles with existing components. The sky is the limit. What can come next? But I think important in that arena is you have to take it step by step, because you have to take all partners then along. You have to also internally have everyone along. So that's why I said the initial investment was really in people, in building up a distribution team of 50 plus that we're having, because back in the days we had a bit in every airline, some people looking after that, but not really that powerhouse that we have today. Okay, well I like the idea of NDC as rocking and rolling. I was trying to think of a song title that I could introduce, but I can't. I probably will when we go off camera. But Markus, listen, that's great. I mean, Lufthansa has been sort of leading the way for distribution. We could talk for hours, but we've only got a 10 to 12 minute slot. So thanks very much for making the time to join us. Thank you very much. Okay, this is tnoozLIVE Live at the Aviation Festival, presented by JetBlue Technology Ventures and sponsored by Travel Air. Martin Cowan, Editorial Director for tNews, signing off, but I'll be back shortly. Thank you very much.